There are no two ranches that are the same. You know, there's no two ecosystems in the U.S. that are the same. And that if you try to just duplicate what you hear someone else is doing, it's probably going to fail somehow. Hopefully not big, but it's more being observant to learn what your cattle need and what your forage that you're feeding those cattle need, and look at those together. I'm Chuck Trowbridge with Prairie Farmstead out of Sherman, Texas. I'm the owner and operator along with my family, my in-laws and my wife. We operate a multi-species direct-to-consumer meat and egg business because I always wanted to raise my kids on a farm, in a farm setting if I could. Around 2016, we found a property with my in-laws that was big enough to build more than a homestead, you know, not large, but enough to produce more than just what our family would eat. We started with laying hens, and I started custom grazing someone else's cattle in 2017 to get started. And I wanted to learn how to do rotational grazing on cattle. I had learned about the benefits to the land and the benefits to the cattle. So I used someone else's cattle first, and then we bought our first set of steers in 18. And so we've continued to stack enterprises, not only for the health of the land and to add multi-species, but also to increase our product portfolio, our list of meats and eggs that our consumer families, you know, that our customers want to eat. We love educating our community on how we do what we do and why we do what we do. These are eggs for my family to eat and for our dogs to eat, but basically any egg that we find that's cracked, we try to eat it instead of just throwing it out. And then these are eggs we just washed, so they're currently drying. And then we are very careful to track what day eggs are laid, the day they're laid, and then the sell-by date, and so that we can we sort our eggs by sell-by date, so that we're always moving the oldest egg, if that makes sense, and we're monitoring how old the oldest egg is. But that's our egg carton. It's in a number of great egg partners, and we have a couple restaurants that use our eggs. We separate our eggs that are dirty or clean in the pasture. So when we're collecting our eggs in the pasture, we're separating them, clean or dirty. And then all of the dirty eggs go through our egg washer here. And there's water that sprays the egg here in this first section. And these brushes are stiffer than these ones. And so they get some water.
Hold on, these are stiffer?
These ones, first ones. So eggs come in over here. These ones really knock off any dirt that's on the egg with the water spraying. And then they go through this little divider, and these ones kind of polish it. Because there's no more water. They're still wet, but there's no water spraying on this side. And then they come out and come around. So it could be a one-person operation if you run it slow enough. We run 2 people on it to go a little faster. One person's putting in dirty eggs. The other person's sorting off clean eggs and looking for cracks and, you know, imperfections through this is called a candler. So as they roll across that, you can see additional cracks or imperfections. And then this track conveys the egg through the egg washer. We run, like I said, 1,200, 400 per coop. Just the size of these coops, 400 is a good number. And we try to move the coops five mornings a week.
Okay. And what's that distance?
30 feet.
30 feet.
So we try
every move or in total?
We try to at least move them 30 feet, which is the length of the building. So this morning I moved them longer because we got up to those trees, and now we're going to go up to that corner of the field, and then we're going to work our way back. So we try to always do the longest length in a pasture. So usually the green grass that they're excited about is in the front. With that movement, we can control how much they impact the pasture.
Okay.
So if we leave them too long, just like if you left 20 hens in your backyard and never moved them, they would destroy the grass. That's, they scratch, peck. That's their job, right? To scratch and peck at the grass. So we control their movement so that they help the pasture not hurt it, and so they can eat as much grass too, because the grass is what gives the eggs the omega-3s.
Okay.
So our customers are conscientious of omega-3s. and you know, we want to do the best we can. So that's giving the hens as much grass as possible.
And how have you seen the soil respond after you've moved them and it's had some time to rest?
Yeah, it's actually really fun to see. You can actually see the stripes in the grass.
Can you really?
Yeah, a month or two later, you'll see where the coops were. You'll see the stripes, you know,
Yeah.
darker green, and it's really helped these 3 pastures. Like I said, that they go in. You'll notice as we drive around, these 3 pastures are the most fertile, and you know,
Okay.
have the most grass volume.
That's cool. Because we hear about people paying for like chicken litter and stuff like that, and here you are making a business out of it.
Yeah.
And what breed are these?
These are a brown sex link. I
Okay.
have technically two breeds in here at once, Nova Gen and Isa Browns.
Okay.
They're very similar. They look about identical, but they're both brown sex links. And
Okay.
that breed gives us about 300 eggs per year.
Wow.
Yeah, a little over 300 a year.
So how do you manage health of these girls? I mean, I guess, is there advantages for them being an outdoor situation than versus an in-house?
No, they thrive out here. So you know, the fresh air, the sunshine, you know, the green grass helps a lot. What we have to be careful of is cold drafts at night.
Okay.
You know, we roll the sides down when we know it's going to be cooler. We can roll the sides up and down on the coops, and we add or remove the plastic on the ends. When it gets hot, we got to take the plastic off so they can get more airflow. But we do have to add misters in the summer. Our threshold is about 95 or 96 degrees. We turn on misters. We have nipple drinkers in each coop so they can drink in the shade. That's something that's important for hens. You don't want to make them go out into 100 degrees sunshine to drink. Then we have a backup water.
Got it.
Some like to just drink out of a big cup of water. It's actually a pig water, but they love it. It's an 80-gallon float valve type of water that we always keep full as a backup, because you never know when we could spring a leak or a hose gets kinked accidentally.
What is one of your biggest challenges with these girls? Like we've talked a lot about like cattle on the show, but we haven't really talked about poultry.
So our biggest challenge is to know when to replace them and when to cycle in new hens, and then how to be careful with our egg supply during that period. So just like anyone, our challenge as a business is making sure that we replace hens at the right time before they start, you know, before they decline laying.
What's up with the goose?
He's a guard goose.
A guard goose?
Yep, so our biggest predator are hawks and owls, and when we got a guard goose, it really decreased a lot. So he warns them of overhead birds, or he warns them of anything, but he really, but basically he just has a lookout all the time, and he just lives out here with them and eats their feed and just hangs out with them. So these are our broilers. We do a batch every 6 to 8 weeks, starting in February and going through November, early December maybe. So first thing in the morning, I just make sure all the waters are working and they have enough feed. And then we'll check them 3 times a day. When we got started, we decided to go direct to consumer because we had a very small acreage base, and because we were learning more about regenerative agriculture and the nutritional benefit to eating meats raised on a multi-species regenerative grazing farm. So as we were learning that, we were learning the benefits of stacking enterprises on the same acre. So these are finished meat chickens, the same, you know, Cornish cross like we saw in the brooder.
Okay.
And similar to our laying hens, they move on pasture. But these guys are just waiting for their processing date, so they're done. They're finished. When you talk about a finished animal, or you know, bird in this case. So I believe they're 7 weeks. I'd have to look at my Excel spreadsheet, but I think they're 7 weeks right now. And they will go to the processor on Monday. So it's Friday now, so they've got a couple days left. So again, we're moving them to the new grass to give them a diet with grass and with bugs and worms and everything, but also to spread their manure. And so these birds really grow grass. You know, where they've been, you can really see an impact.
To the right here is our pig pasture. So we
Oh,
took
okay.
this 5.5 acres of woods. A couple years ago, we took this woods and subdivided it with this fencing to get the pigs in here. And so this was, we would kind of run the cows through here, but really it was unproductive land. So we just saw we had this 5.5, 6 acres of unproductive land and wanted to figure out something to do with it.
We wanted to make it productive.
Yeah, so we bought a few pigs in 2021 kind of as a test batch. They really enjoy both eating the forage, but also, rooting around in it. So they'll basically work through here and, tear it up.
Sure.
And so we just try to manage that so they don't tear it up too much.
Sure.
There's with all livestock, there's a level of disturbance that is productive and then a level of disturbance that's destructive. And so with pigs, we try to toe that line to not let it get to destructive. But they'll be in here a little bit longer, and then we'll broadcast that milo 2 to 3 days before we move them out and let them hoof in that milo seed before we pull them out. So the youngest pigs in here, I think, are pushing they're pushing 3 to 4 months old. And then we have pigs in here finished and ready to go to the processor in a week or two.
I figured they'd be a little skittish, but they're not. Y'all are up close and friendly.
Sometimes you'll find one that wants a back scratch, but.
And what's the weight you hold them at, or you process them at?
So we want a hanging weight of 200 to 220
Okay.
is our target hanging weight. Our pork that we sell would be vaccine-free, antibiotic-free, hormone-free, all that, but then also soy and corn-free.
Wow.
So that's something a lot of customers are looking for right now. But they get a feed that is peanut meal and Milo-based.
Okay.
So we
Is
have
that
a lot.
like a pellet or?
We do pelletize it, yeah.
Okay. But they're still rooting around looking for stuff.
Oh yeah,
so.
yeah. We give them full feed. We never control how much feed they get. So they have free choice feed the whole time they're here, and they're very active. Rooting around looking for stuff. So
Sure.
what percentage do they get from pasture? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard to say, but they get a lot. They're out here moseying around. So genetics wise, there's breeds that we try to stay away from.
Okay.
So we want the traditional, English breeds, or the traditional European Hampshires, Berkshires,
Okay.
Durocs, Tamworths, Red Wattles, or a combination thereof. So most of our pigs are a decent percentage Berkshire. Usually the boar would be Berkshire, but the moms, like this one's Red Wattle with the wattles.
Is that what those little things
Yeah,
are?
yeah,
Okay.
those are wattles. So the moms could be anything from like a Tamworth to a Red Wattle. So
Okay.
the one lady that we buy most of our piglets from, she has a lot of Tamworth Red Wattle sows.
Okay.
That's the red and the wattles on that one.
Your forage here is awesome. So what kind of native grasses are you focused on?
So we don't have a lot. We have identified a number of natives in very small volumes. So
Okay.
on our farm here, I call the 200 acres we graze here, the Sherman farm or the Farmington Road farm. We've identified switchgrass, little blue, Indian grass, a little bit of big blue. What else? I think that's about it. But we really have a lot of KR blue stem, a lot of Johnson grass. We do plant fall multi-species cover crop in the fall. We try to cover as many acres as we can in the fall because really we're lacking green living root through the winter. And so we decrease our hay bill, but also we really want to get photosynthesis happening on our land through the winter.
Sure.
Daily cattle moves down here and we unroll our hay in the winter. We've really seen a big improvement on these pastures since 2018. We're producing at least double, if not triple the forage this year than we did then.
That's awesome.
So
It's really thick. Like I don't see really any bare grounds.
we gave them this about acre and a quarter. That's
Okay.
one day's allotment for this group.
Okay.
And we have anything in here from steers that are finished, waiting for their processing date, and then we have some heifers in here that are just staying away from our bulls. And then we have we have finishers and then stockers. So we and stockers in here. So a combination.
They look great.
Other than a couple crossbreds, a couple randoms, everything in here is a percentage South Pole on genetics.
Okay.
We have Red Angus cattle, and we breed to South Pole, and we also have some South Pole mamas. But
How do you monitor then or gauge your cost of your inputs if you're not, I mean, are you just monitoring that age once you harvest it and then you do that cost analysis? So I'm just trying to understand how you gauge what your price per pound is depending on how much time they're out here.
yeah, good question. So the biggest cost is the cost of the calf.
Okay.
The second biggest cost is the cost of hay. Labor's right in there somewhere. Our labor units, to run this operation. I'm more concerned about how many winters are they here. How many winters are they here eating hay. So we try to get a mixture, if we can, if it's up to us, we try to get a mixture of spring-born and fall-born calves. So the fall-born calves that are here might spend an extra winter here, but that gives us beef that's finished earlier in the season.
Okay.
So we're processing between 24 and 30 months in general. We've had a few that just maybe they're the wrong genetics for us or something that take closer to 36. But in general, when we look back at our spreadsheet after we've processed them, they're somewhere between 24 and 30 months typically. Okay. Hay being, our only input really, other than a little bit of salt and mineral, that allows us to butcher them before that next winter. On a fall born, typically they will have one more winter of hay, to get to that 30 months, but that gives us a good finish size cow in, and you're going to knock your camera down. That gives us a nice finished animal early in the season. So we try to do a combination if we can.
So these girls, this is your cow calf or your cow location, right?
Yep, this is our cow herd, yep.
So when did you acquire this location, and then what was the vegetative state?
Sure.
And how's that progressed?
So this is a 100-acre parcel. I mentioned we're real close to the Red River. We're a stone throw away from the Red River in that direction. But so it's sandy loam soil, and it's a great young couple that owns it that we're excited to hear about how we graze properties and what we do with our cattle. And so we actually somewhat partnered with them in that they bought a couple cows to put in the herd, and they actually offer to do daily moves here.
Oh, nice.
Which is really cool because we were doing weekly moves. These cows we're checking on these cows and moving them once a week, and then they offered to learn and to move them daily. So they're very engaged, which is really cool, to have a landlord that's that engaged. But this is a 100-acre parcel. Historically, half of it had been continuously grazed. When we saw it, it was a golf course. There was very little forage as well, way overstocked. They were bringing hay in the summer. And then the other half was hayed every year. But I want to say that was 20 or 21 when we started here. I think this is the start of our 4th grazing season here. So we've seen a big improvement. I mean, we're standing in lots of broom sedge, but it's decreasing every year. We're getting some other species into the broom sedge areas here. But the property in general has been producing more forage just about every year. And the big thing is letting it rest and then grazing it hard. And so with this herd, we do graze a little bit harder. That means deeper into the forage than the other herd, and we try to rest longer between grazings. That means a longer period between when the cows come back. So we make these mama cows work a little bit harder and eat more of that plant than we do the other herd.
Why is that? Why that technique?
So there's a few reasons. One is on this soil type and with this forage and what we're trying to do here, we need that longer rest period. The other reason is we're actually not working these cows to death. Obviously they're fat, but we're actually trying to cull this herd and find our top producers that can perform in that situation. So we're doing that intentionally because we have an outlet for the cows that can't make that. So they go right into our beef business. So we're pretty strict in that a cow here in this herd, they have to bring us a weaned calf through weaning, pretty much no exceptions, or else they're part of our beef business. And they have to do it on this forage. We do supplement hay, obviously, in the winter here still. We don't buy special hay
we just make sure it doesn't have any herbicide on it. But we don't buy anything special. I even stopped doing hay tests. They have to perform on our local hay that we can produce here or buy from neighbors. And we unroll hay through the winter. We unroll hay, keep them pretty tight, and we plant, you know, a multi-species winter crop here to help, mostly for soil health at this point, but it is a supplement. It definitely helps the cattle through the winter, that they can get a few bites of good green grass with that hay. So
That's interesting. I haven't heard somebody saying they don't test their hay because I need you to be adaptable and hardy enough to withstand. So that's really interesting. I hadn't heard that before.
I ran all over the county and the region testing hay for 3 years, I think, trying to buy the best hay I could find. And from all the data I collected, all of the hay grown in this region was very similar. You know, it was more I learned who to buy hay from. You know, it was a good experience. It was good information. I more learned who knows how to make quality hay, not necessarily a big wide difference. It became a waste of my time. And again, I'm trying to get cows that, you know, can adapt to what's grown here regionally. And if every year I spend days and days and days and miles and miles and miles to test hay before I buy it, I'm trying to find them the best supplemental hay in the region instead of making them, you know, thrive on what's here. I mean, that's the way I look at it.
So this building is new to you,
Yep.
right? Okay.
Yeah, up until August of last year, we were doing everything out of our 2-car garage at our house. So we were just
A little cramped?
Yeah, very cramped, and my wife really wanted to park in the garage again. One of these winters when it's raining so much. But what we have here in the corner is where we pack all of our meat orders. So our goal is to sell 100% of our product direct to families. That's our goal. We do have some awesome wholesale partners that buy some, but our goal is to be direct to consumer to the eater. And so when we get those orders, we come to this corner of the shop, and we have these chest freezers have, you know, there's 1 for chicken, there's 2 for pork, there's 2 for beef. We keep things all separated, and so we take that order and we fulfill it. So This is our little fulfillment center. So we use 3 processors for cattle, 1 processor for pigs, and 1 processor for chickens.
Wow.
That's a total of that. Within that's a total of 4 processors we're working with, and each one we work hard to build that relationship with, so that, you know, in the end we have a product, we can maximize the sale of our products, each individual product, and, you know, each meat item.
So from a 1,000-foot view, from a holistic view, we want to, in general, be working with nature, not against nature, not to fight nature, not to subdue it, but to work with it. And we really want each of our enterprises to work together somehow. So yeah, we've got a lot of different enterprises going, and we're constantly, you know, evaluating to see if there's other enterprises that we could add to the same operation to help with overheads. And we have a great team that works with us, and my family is a great help. So.
Today you have seen that everything in agriculture can work together, not just to maintain profitability, but taking care of animals and positively impacting the environment all at the same time. We want to thank Chuck Trowbridge with Prairie Farmstead for having us out on this episode of Ranchworthy, brought to you by the Texas A&M Center for Grazing Lands and Ranch Management. Until next time, I'm your host, Emma Coffman, and this is Ranchworthy.